Hello, Paul. Paul, I'm doing very, very well. How are you, Paul? You're welcome to grab that link that's in the chat right above you and jump on live and just have a conversation. I didn't really plan this. I didn't really promote that I was going to be live. Just decided to do it at the last hour here, so I don't expect us to have more than a couple of folks in the middle of a work day, or at least for people with full-time jobs, normal jobs in the middle of the workday. But really, this is just for any questions, conversations you want to have about, pursuing your passion and doing hobbies outside of your day job, whatever it is you do for your day job. Because like I have for 10 years, I was a full-time magician. So my day job was magic. For a lot of people, that magic is their passion. It's their hobby that they do outside of the 9 to 5. But for me, magic was my 9 to 5. And so I always needed to have something going on in my life that wasn't magic. Like when you're a full-time magician, I know some magicians who live, breathe, sleep magic. They work magic full time, and when they're not doing a gig, they're thinking about magic, they're showing magic, they're working on magic. And I just was never that guy. I loved doing magic for a living, but I needed something else outside of magic as a full-time gig to do on the nights and weekends. And all my life, I've had music. I've got tons of guitars in here. I'm a guitarist by trade. I sing well enough to get by no means a world-class singer. Guitar is my principal instrument, obviously. Hopefully you guys who got to watch the premiere of the music video enjoyed it. If you didn't, you can check it out at any point. It's just live now. And I debated whether or not, hey, Tom. Good to see you, Tom, all the way from the UK. Anybody's welcome to grab that link grab this link that's in the chat and jump up on the screen on video with me, have an in-person conversation here. You're welcome to do that. It's in the chat. You can copy paste that into a browser. And so yeah, I've always had music all my life. And here we go. All right, Nevin, do we have it?
I fixed it.
Do we have? You fixed it? Oh, good.
I
What's that?
fixed
Paul
it.
just said, normal job today in the future. My day job, various jobs, acting, music, Instagram. Keep in touch. All right. A little shout out to Instagram there. Didn't see that before I put it on the screen, but I'll give it to you anyway. That's fine. That's fine. You got you got, I think, one new follower. So, so, so Nevin, what's up? How you been?
I've been waiting to hear back from this job for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I figured if there was any news, I'd have heard from you already. I got some from Tom here. Been interesting to see you diversify the last few months. Music, magic, talks, philosophy, audio. Maybe you've always done it, but it's been great stuff and inspiring. First, thank you for that, Tom. Appreciate that you found it enjoyable and inspiring. This actually brings up a really interesting point, Nevin. You can weigh in because you kind of toured with me and were intimately involved in my business as well as my personal life for the better part of 4 years, which is that I've always done all this stuff. If you know me personally, every aspect of what you just said, Tom, music, magic, speaking, philosophy, audio, these are all a big part of my life. And it seems impossible that all of those things could be a big part of my life. Somebody the other day when I was running a virtual workshop, Nevin, after the workshop was done and a handful of folks stuck around, just like in the real world, they stick around to chat afterwards and stay on the Zoom call, and other folks who have to go. It's just like the real world. It's hysterical. And somebody, after they started learning about philosophy, and then I also do the music, they were asking about my music, and as we went further, at some point a guy cut in, he goes, "Is there anything you don't do?" And I was
I've
like,
had
"Yeah,
that thought several times.
there's lots of things I don't do. I don't do almost everything, right? But there's so many things you could do that when you find someone who does 4, 5, 6 things, I feel like it just shocks people for some reason. Like most of my immediate friends and colleagues do tons of stuff just like I do. They're super diversified. And you've played around with that a little bit, Nevin. I mean, so where Paul said sorry about Instagram. Not at all. I'm not offended. I just don't think you're getting anything from promoting your. I'm not even getting anything from promoting myself on my own channel right now, Paul. But appreciate you being here. And here I'll put it up again. There you go, Paul Dunkel, actor. If anybody needs an actor with a wicked cool last name, you know your guy. So Nevin, what have you been doing over the last few months in terms of have you been diversifying out of boredom? Have you been trying to streamline your focus because of the pandemic? Where are you at with this?
I mean, I've been trying to think of a million different ways to do everything. So for a minute, I had everything. I had, the whole magic career was on this like big incline, which is awesome. And then the pandemic hit. So I started to think, how else could I make money or start doing other things? I've considered, I play Xbox. I enjoy it. I play like two games because I want to get good at the games I play. I'm not like everybody else who plays a million games and
Did
sucks
you
at all.
start? Did you start twitching or Twitch streaming? What is twitching the right? That doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right.
No, I didn't start to. I've considered it several times. I've thought about like hooking up a camera and doing all that. I did just uh 2 days ago decide to start my own podcast.
You are
For
starting a
movies.
podcast.
Yes. For movies, I got this like arm clamp on my desk for my microphone. Yes, exactly that. um, so I'm gonna start a movie review podcast because I like to combine the things I love doing, and so movies and podcasting just seem to go together. Uh, you know, I find it interesting your point on how people like view what like kind of us. I want to say us as a group because we do so many different things. We do magic, you video edit, photo edit, like you know how to do all these things. And a lot of people I've come to learn don't have a lot of skills. It's which is fascinating.
You know, yeah, and this is where talking about this publicly gets you into trouble, right? Because all of a sudden
Yeah.
you start to sound like you have an ego, and like, well, I do all these things, and why can't other people just do? And here's the thing: this is what I honestly believe. I don't think there's anything special about me. And I really
No,
believe
me
that. You
either.
know that I believe that because I preached to everybody that they could be doing the same thing. Obviously, people came from different backgrounds, and I had access to different kinds of education, arguably better education from coming from an upper middle class background. There's no doubt that there's inequities and inequalities. But most of the stuff that I do is you can learn for free on the internet today. Almost
True.
everything I do, you
Very
can learn
true.
for free. If you have an internet connection, which you do if you're watching this and listening to this, right? So if you have an internet connection, you can learn basically everything I do for free, which means that the privilege that I had, 25 years ago with an upbringing where I had access to pay for this kind of instruction, you don't need that privilege anymore today to get the same level, to get the kind of education. So if you want to learn something, just learn it. It's not like I learned how to be a video editor and a photo editor and a magician and a speaker and an audio engineer. I didn't learn all of that in the same day when I was 8 years old. It's a lifetime pursuit. And I get bored. That the honest answer is I just get bored or I'm so anxious I gotta be learning something.
I really like how you put that as it's a lifetime pursuit. That makes a lot of sense because I haven't been able to verbalize that. So I was having a conversation with one of my friends who he went the college route, got the degree, doesn't really necessarily want to do something in the field in which he got his degree. And he was like, "Well, you have magic, you have these things you love." And I was like, "I just fixate on something, like you pick something and you just laser and focus and just learn it and do it, and you fall in love with it in the process." And he's like, "I don't have that ability to do that." And I'm like, I can't help you there. I feel like you do. You just haven't given it enough time and effort to fall in love with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I when people say, "Well, I just don't have that kind of passion or that kind of commitment." Adam and I talked about this on the On to the Next Project podcast or whatever. You want to call it? Actually, Adam's responding to me right now. Yes, indeed. If you want to join us, I'm trying to rope him in. We rope each other into these things on a moment's notice all the time. He'll be like, "Wait, let me put the baby down." Actually, half the time he just keeps the baby and just shows up on screen. Um, Adam and I were talking about this recently, which is that concept called the dip, right, from Seth, which is I think that's where most people get stuck. Is that in every project, in every new pursuit, there's going to be a moment, a huge moment, a huge gap, basically, where after the initial excitement, you start learning a new thing, you get a new video game. Let's just use something silly, a video game. You get a new
Yeah.
video game. The beginning's fun because you're in the teaching levels, right? You're learning the ropes. You don't really care if you're failing because you're not good at it yet, and you don't expect to be good at it yet. So after a week or two, you've got the handle on the controls. You kind of get the sense for the game, and you've gotten past the intro levels, and now the game starts getting hard. And that dip between there and the end, when you get so good at it that it's just fun because you're such a master of this game that you can play it and it's just fun all the time. That dip in the middle is when most people quit playing a video game, which is a silly time to quit because you know it's coming before you start.
Yeah, see, that's the thing too, is like I like when I play video games, right? I like actually more recently because I got my game console like a year ago, and I've had one my whole life. I didn't have one for like probably like 2 years. I got a new one, and I have two games. I've had two games for a year. I was like, I'm gonna get good at these two games. One I play way more than the other because I want to master the games I'm playing. I don't want to play a million games and suck at them all. I don't. I play for enjoyment, but I play to win. Like if I'm playing the
Yeah.
game, I want to be great at
You
it.
you are. You're
And
very competitive. Yeah.
I am. I mean, go watch the skee ball vlog. You'll know what I'm talking about. And I just don't understand how people cannot fixate and want to be great at what they're playing. Like, it's okay to be okay at a lot of things. Like, I'm okay at video editing right now, and I definitely need to work on that.
Yeah,
But that comes with time.
I'm a mediocre cook. Now I love cooking, and I should be better at cooking because of how long I've been cooking from scratch. I come from an Italian family. I'm a mediocre cook. Some days I'm a good cook, but I'm rarely great, and it's because I've never studied cooking. I've never put in the effort. What's up, everybody?
Right when I took a sip of my coffee, you introduced.
Adam, so basically what we're doing here is at 1 o'clock I had the premiere of the music video for When the World. And then I had, basically at the last minute decided I would jump on a live stream the second it was over, not intending that this stays as a replay. Maybe it will because we started having a good conversation. But I figured if anybody wants to come on and share their hobbies, their passions, stuff that they do outside of the day job that they really have avoided monetizing, that it's that pull that even if you like it a little bit, you have to monetize it. That pull lately, I'm trying to resist that. So like,
Why?
That's
Why?
Monetize everything.
But monetizing, there's no negative stigma to monetizing something.
No, not the stigma.
Don't let monetizing become the focus of your thing. That'll drain the.
Well, that's the point. Is that for me, my music, technically it's for sale, but it's also for free. You can buy it, but you can also listen to all of it for free. So you don't have to buy it. People who buy it are like basically saying to me, I enjoyed this, and so I'm going to give you money even though I didn't have to. I appreciate that, right? But it's all for free. And I've resisted for so long. I used to gig as a musician, right? Even into my mid-20s, I was gigging as a solo acoustic artist, and I never got paid. I never tried to get paid. I knew how to do it. I knew how to build that business. I didn't want to. I just wanted music to be the one pure thing that had nothing to do with money. It was just me for myself. And I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Well, you might have experienced that same thing if you monetized it that you experienced with magic, where you kind of felt like you loved magic growing up, but you kind of fell out of love because you were just doing it so often. You were doing the same 7 tricks a night, and
so it happened to Adam.
Get over it.
Well, I'm going to use a really weird analogy for this because, like, again, first of all, here's one thing, the caveat I'll put. Know your personality type. If you know trying to monetize it will take over your life, then don't do it. Okay, but like I clip my fingernails all the time. And if someone wanted to give me like $1 for each fingernail clipping, like I'd be like, okay, sure. I'm not going to clip my fingers down to nothing, okay, just for the money. But like, if you're doing it anyway, why not just make a little cash off of it?
I'm not just going to take it off to the knuckle for an extra couple bucks.
Yeah, I know, right? But here's the thing: is I think people will have that type of personality too. That people would take their fingernails all the way down to the knuckle for a couple bucks. But again, if you know you have that type of a personality, then don't do it. But I think it's silly to not monetize something if you can, and if there's no pressure on you that you would put on yourself to have to do it. Then
I don't even know where to respond to that analogy. My brain.
I was trying to think of anything else, but everything else I thought of was way worse.
Yeah. Well, I guess put like that. No, you know what it is though? It's that the way you just described that is like, oh, I was already doing this, and someone walked up and said, hey, good for you for doing that for yourself. Here's $1. That is not what monetizing is, right? Monetizing is not somebody walks up and goes, you know what? I'm proud of you for being you. Here's $1 for doing that thing you already do. You have to actually say to the world, I'm monetizing this thing that I do. Right. So either you have to pay for it, or by you watching me do it, I'm getting paid for it. So you're paying me directly or indirectly. So there is, it's kind of like, it feels like the trolley problem in moral philosophy, where is there a difference between pushing someone off the trolley to save the trolley, or just letting someone fall off the trolley, right?
Well,
by doing, it's
I think one important difference, though, in what you're saying is, it depends on exactly how you define monetizing. I don't. When I think of monetizing, I just think of like putting ads on it and getting some passive income on it. I don't think of selling it. Is selling something technically considered monetizing?
Yeah, well, to me it is. To me, yeah, monetizing means any approach you take to getting paid for it.
Well, no, I think that there's a big difference. There's a humongous difference between just throwing ads on something that's sitting there and actively trying to sell something. You know, one's passive, one's what would you say, passive? One's aggressive. One's
And I agree with you that there's a difference there. But having said that, I don't monetize my podcast at all. So it's one of the only videos on my YouTube channel that I don't put ads on. I disable ads. I disable monetization, and I never put them on any of my podcast episodes because because one, the amount of ad revenue I would get for the views that I get on my podcast, to me, doesn't justify putting my audience through the ad. It's just not enough. To me, I'm saying this is something I'm doing because I believe in it. And so I want to make it as accessible to as many people. Even just shoving another crappy 15, 30-second ad in front of them before they get there is me saying, you got to jump through at least one hoop before you enjoy this thing. And I don't want there to be hoops or anything in their way. And then also, again, as soon as I click that monetization on button, that makes my business brain turn on. And then I stop thinking of the podcast as an exploration of art, and I start thinking of it as, now this is part of my business. And it is part of my business, but
Yeah, I hear you, but I just think it's a little bit, because I mean, it's just whether you like it or not, it's a world we live in. We've never in our childhood grown up watching any TV show without there being an ad in it. And also there's a difference between, whether you're trying to build an audience and whether a lot of times your audience wants to support you. That, people are like, I could see, I've heard of some YouTubers say, like, why don't you have ads on this type of thing? Or why don't you put more ads in? Because I can't donate money to you or buy any of your products. I want you to be compensated in some way.
Adam, tell Nevin the thing you told me on the on our podcast the other day about, or maybe it was privately, but you should tell it publicly. Somebody wanted to give you money, and you tried to get them to download one of your patterns.
So someone sent me a message saying, thank you so much for your videos that you do. I really appreciate it. I wanted to send you a little bit of a donation as a thank you. And I said, that's actually why I created these downloadable patterns for people, because people ask me, like, what's a way that I can say thank you? And again, I don't want people to donate to me. Like, it seems kind of strange. So I was like, hey, why don't we at least, you still get something back for it, okay? And then they're like, oh, well, I would never use the pattern, though. I don't even do puppets. I just want to support you. I was like, okay, but you don't have to use it. You don't have to use it, but that's just one way to support me. And they're like, can you give me your Venmo or your PayPal? And then I just did. And they sent me even more money than the pattern even cost. I'm like, whatever. I was don't get me wrong, I'm very, very grateful. But just interesting the mindset that people have. Whereas, like, in one sense, there's a ton. Let's do a gross numbers here. Let's say half the world wants something, even if they're giving something, and the other half like really wants nothing. And not only don't they want it, but like it's a deterrent to have something.
Yeah,
So,
that some people actually it's the like the reciprocal generosity kind of a thing, which has been well studied and well documented, which is the way to get people to donate to good causes is really not to talk about the cause itself. Believe it or not, it's to really emphasize how they're going to feel when they donate to that cause, right? Because the reason people by and large donate to certain causes and not to others is because when they donate to that cause, they feel like a good person. And not saying that they're not actually doing good. They are doing good, but it's not the doing good that really motivates it. It's the feeling of I've done good for the world. I'm now a good person.
I've done good, and also kind of
that's also interesting though. That's interesting because I'm reading this book right now, which is it's 50 scientifically proven ways to influence somebody. And they did a study. So when you go to a hotel room and you see those little cards that say, "Oh, please reuse your towel. It's good for the environment." They showed that's not the most effective way to get people to reuse their towel. The most effective way to get people to reuse their towel was to say that everyone else is reusing their towel, so should you.
Yeah, so seven out of if they print, I've seen it. Like 7 out of 10 people reuse their towels. They're more likely to do it because I want to be one of the majority too. I want to be one of the good people too.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you see a cause that people are giving to, you're like, oh, I'm going to give to that cause too, just because everybody else is giving to it, more so than the fact that you just want to be a good person or you want that gratification. Also, like if you look at this instance where Adam had this person who wanted to give to donate to the cause, you could kind of look at Simon Sinek's like Start With Why, right? Like, why are you making these tutorials on YouTube for puppets? It has nothing to do with you want to make money off of it. Maybe now so because you've monetized, but initially you just wanted to help the community. Something you were passionate about, you put out there, and now you're starting to see reciprocation from people, not because you wanted to make money in the first place, but because you wanted to help in the first place. And so that's another thing to consider. Yeah.
I never did it for money. I don't do it for money. Right. And it makes very little money compared to especially compared to what it takes for me to survive in a year. I mean, again, I never ask for anything. Never ask
exactly.
And do not expect anything ever. But I am appreciative when someone does, because, and that's the other thing too. One thing I've learned is that it can be very counterproductive to not accept a gift.
Yeah, it can be really insulting.
It can be, and it took me a while to actually realize that. It's gonna sound so weird, but is it wrong to not allow people to show their support in some way? And it's I do make it available now for, again, there's no pressure. It's there if people find it and are interested in it. So
that reminds me of kind of an old principle I remember learning as a stage performer for magic, which was I remember being taught, and I forget who taught me, don't do this thing that a lot of performers do when they get a lot of applause or a lot of laughter. They kind of do this like, oh no, thank you, but that's I want to get to my next bit. Oh no, that's this thing. As soon as you wave off the audience who's trying to show their appreciation, it's actually kind of rude, right? That because what you're having as a performer is a dialogue. It feels like a monologue because you're the only one talking and they're watching the show, but it is a dialogue, and their end of the conversation is the applause. It's the laughter, and you really need to let them show their appreciation for you, for what they're doing. This is interesting. I didn't expect this conversation to go in this way. Nevin, but before Adam jumped on, you were starting to talk about, and maybe Adam can help or give some insight that I haven't had on this. This is public, so I don't know if you want to talk about this publicly, but Nevin's been vying for a very difficult to get job and very close to it, but struggling at the end of the game. You want to give Adam's even less involved in the magic industry than I am, so you need to give him context.
Okay, so I'll go back.
You want to be the next story, exactly. Mike?
exactly how I tell it. So yeah, Magic Mike. I've seen the movie and I've seen the numbers, and the numbers look pretty promising. Not where I'm going though.
You'd be wrong not to.
I know. So about a year ago, I went to New York City to film this project with this big company, and I'll name that company later, maybe. But I went there. I made this great connection. I said, "How could I get in with the company?" He said, "Do magic reviews." I was like, "Great." And then I had this inner turmoil, this inner debate, because I didn't really want to do magic reviews. I didn't want that to be who I was. I thought that I had more to offer than a review, but I went ahead and did it anyways, which was great, and it definitely helped out. After about doing 3 or 4 reviews, I reached out and said, "Hey, I was just wondering if there was any potential for me to work at this company." And the next day, the assistant of marketing, quit. Quit. So then I was, which doesn't happen, especially in the Magic community. People don't leave their jobs. So now it's just been a waiting game, and part of it, and I've talked to him since, Ryan, not much, but initially everybody on the staff, they love me. It's just a matter of getting the owner on the phone to have a conversation with him. That's it. They're all backing me. They all have my back, and so it's just been a waiting game. They told me, "Hey, we love you. We just got to get you on the phone with this guy." Yeah, and that's as far. And that was last week. They said they'd call me this week, so I'm expecting a call at some point this week. That's all I got.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I'm glad you did the reviews, even though, because I think that's one thing. It can almost, not saying this was literally a test, but the fact of thinking that that was beneath you or something can be telling to them. Is like how much are you willing to play ball? Are you going to be a team player? Because in every job, I mean, it has aspects of things that we don't love about it. And not to mention, I'd also argue you learn to love things about it too. Like, again, I grew up thinking, "Oh, I hope I can make puppet building tutorials on YouTube one day," but I just did it, and I like it. And there's a lot to learn from doing that. So I'm glad that you actually did it. I guess I don't really understand what your, I don't know if question's even the right answer. What do you? You're just waiting. You're just waiting to hear from the guy, right?
Just waiting.
Yeah, but
that's exactly
so it seems like here it is, Adam. Is that I think the wider context is that before the pandemic, Nevin had just last May graduated, and so he had just started finally building his career as a magician. He was getting traction.
Oh, yeah.
He was getting some paid gigs. He got signed to a college entertainment agency. Really did a good job. Pandemic, which hit, which means he didn't have, he got stuck. He was too early to have enough built up. He didn't have relationships to be able to make this pivot into virtual the way that those of us who had deep relationships in the industry had. And so he's kind of sitting on his hands for a little bit and pursuing this. And I think what's happening is the waiting game he's playing is psychologically, Nevin, tell me if I'm wrong, psychologically making it hard for you to pursue a new avenue or think about a different project, because you're worried if you start to put too much effort or energy into building something else, you're going to waste a bunch of time if they come back and say yes. But right now, if you're not doing anything and then they end up saying no, you've wasted all this time that you could have been building something. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I've been sitting on my hands for 2 going on 3 weeks. This will be the 3rd week, sitting on my hands just waiting to find out. It's kind of killing me, especially financially, because I haven't put out any other applications. There's nowhere for me to go. I'm excited because I just decided to start this podcast. And so because it's not based in magic, I have no fear of it intertwining, and I can run my movie-based podcast without having any fear of it interfering with the job I could potentially have. So that's probably the most relieving thing for me right now, is that I've decided to start the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really
just stressful.
If you're just waiting, you should do your thing. Rather than just wait and then it doesn't work out and now you really wasted time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been waiting for 3 months to hear back from one of my major clients on some virtual programs they wanted me to do later this year. They've been having committee meetings, and then COVID changes all the time, and I've been waiting. But while I've been waiting to hear from them, I've been doing a ton of other work and building 2 different YouTube channels and running my podcast. And I'm especially because to me, I think everything's public facing now. Everybody's public, right? And so to me, it also makes me wonder if this company kind of or maybe it would be helpful for them to see that you're doing your own thing. You got stuff you're doing, and you're making magic tutorials. I think you should keep doing the not tutorials, but the reviews. I think doing magic reviews is just like 100%.
Yeah,
struggle with the reviews.
Is that what that one where you had your buddy on there guessing the price? Was that
Adam you liked that, right?
No, yeah. I didn't. I loved it. I thought it was hysterical. Okay, hysterical. Because I know I'm very familiar with the magic world, and when he's like $10, and I actually thought it was going to be like $125, but it turned out to only be like $50, and I was like, oh wow, that's actually a good deal. I was overthinking. I kind of want this, so it was totally working. And that guy, your buddy, it's funny because I don't know how long it could work with the same person, because after a while they start to become a little privy to there's a pattern to the way things are kind of priced, kind of. So but your buddy was awesome at that too. It was charming. It was raw. It was great. Obviously, here's the thing. It was a good enough idea and a good enough execution as far as the conversation that it was entertaining. The video lacked, enticing, engaging editing, which I think would just take it from like here to. It would blow the roof if there was like some real production value on it. The content alone was good.
It's really funny because that whole idea was a last minute idea. So I was shooting for another project.
In a positive way.
Yeah, of course. I was shooting for another project, and he was like, "Hey, well, we got the camera here. Do you have anything else you want to shoot?" And I was like, we could try this. And then we, just gave it a shot, and turned out to be something like really fun. And I want to do more things with him in general, because me and him, he's one of my best friends. And so we have this really good like back and forth on camera, which I've noticed.
Yeah,
also.
No, it was really fun. And I really liked that. He's like, oh, like what was that? A pen through a card or something? I think.
The pen through.
Pen through the marker through the card. He's like, it'd be really great if I could like do it with a wine glass. He's like, does it let me do that? He's like, no, that's a different trick. But it just told you, to the mind of the audience, it's a different trick.
Why would, if you were really a magician, why wouldn't you be able to do it with this other thing? Right?
Well, if you're really a magician, you wouldn't be spending $59.99 anyway. But I'm with you.
I used to love.
The point.
Go ahead.
Man. No, keep going. I forgot what I was going to say.
That was
made this really good point.
He's like, but then, wait, so buying this doesn't give me the ability to put things in other things. It's
exactly
it's a marker and a special card. It was hysterical because it's just it's exactly what Mark will think about.
Right. Welcome to magic. Every trick you buy only does this one specific thing. I love that, especially if you become known for that kind of stuff. It's why when you become a professional, you buy a lot less of tricks like that and a lot more principles. Whereas when you're an amateur, you buy a lot more of that stuff. When you're a professional, the problem is if you only have tricks that are that specific, right? When you're out with your friends, like, show them the thing where you put the marker through the card, and you're just like, I left my talent at home. And you're like, whoops.
What's funny? Sorry.
I can make a coin disappear.
When you see him working through that process, when I was younger, and this is kind of why I guess I'm the creative person I am today, I thought the exact same way he did. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do this instead with it. This is a great idea, but if I could do this instead. And so I just kind of start making a new trick, not knowing I was making a new trick. Because I was like, I could just do that with the thing I just bought. No, I could not.
You'd be able to walk the wall.
Works. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, Adam, though, don't you? Even though you and I fell out of love with kind of the whole, going professional, don't you wish you could forget everything we knew about being professional magicians and just love magic again? Don't you? Do you remember? I mean, I know you remember, but like every so often, it floods me like 24-hour like sleepless nights that we just stayed up, just obsessed with magic. Like, I mean, Nevin, you never knew me when I was obsessed with magic, but Adam will tell you, we were like bonkers.
Yeah, no, that's why I liked that video so much. It gave me the feels again, you know? It gave me the feels. I was like, oh my gosh, that was. Oh my God. I was so deep.
We were.
We were, yeah.
We were so deep in Michael Amar and Jay Sankey.
Yeah, and Michael Amar just started a TikTok like 5 days ago, a TikTok account, which is awesome. But anyway, what I was going to say is the other thing that's really great about
sorry, guys. Tom is still wishing we were talking about monetizing content. I don't know how you get 3 magicians in the room, and all of a sudden, I was like, no one else is here, right? We can just talk magic now.
Okay, my next thing's going to pivot back to it then. I'll make it pivot back.
All right, Tom, we're still here for you.
We're still here for you, Tom. Stick around. But I was going to say what I think is so great about that idea of that mini series you're doing with your buddy is that it can play to multiple audiences because it's edutainment. Right. It is not only a review, but even if people already own that trick, they would want to watch it. Even if they know what that trick is and they know they would never buy it. I mean, there's in jokes to being a magician that play to lay audience as well as a magician audience, which makes it much more easy to monetize because you have a wider audience. It's the thing that me and Brian talk about all the time is by niching down, you can really take over a marketplace, essentially a marketplace of content. However, and that's what that video would do perfectly if it was like really immaculately produced, because it takes over a niche, but it's not restricted to the niche because it's something that really a general audience would be able to get a lot of entertainment out of outside of the fact of them, being a magician or even maybe someone who even watches magic that often.
That's a great point.
Tom is digging this magic conversation.
Here's the thing. So me and Brian have talked about this several times because during this pandemic and crisis, while I'm trying to figure everything out, I started going the YouTube route. I was like, oh, well, I'm doing these reviews. I'm doing everything. I'm trying to figure out how to make money off of it. But, the conclusion you come to when making content based in magic is that niching down is great. But if you niche down too much, then you're not maximizing. Like,
incorrect.
You kind of hit this wall. You do though. You hit this wall because if you look at case studies, like so for instance, Chris Ramsey, right? His channel started based in magic, but has since grown through his puzzle building, and he actually doesn't even really do magic videos anymore because the magic videos weren't yielding the same results as puzzle making. I guess the niche of puzzle making or puzzle solving is a lot bigger than that of the magic community.
It's a matter of pivoting. You have to pivot because here's the thing. If you're telling my channel's for everybody, oh really? It's actually for nobody.
Oh, I agree with that.
It's for nobody. I agree with that. So you want to niche down, build that audience as big as you can, and then diversify a little bit. Do things that are peripherally, like that's kind of what I'm doing with my channel in my long run is like puppetry. Okay, I think I got anyone who's interested in puppetry probably already follows me. So now I'm going to try to get more into the maker world, and try to spread out and learn more about different art forms and doing stuff like that. Because you can, if you try to start at the top, try to get everyone, you're going to get nobody.
Well, the Chris Ramsey example is a really interesting one because Adam, you probably don't know that name at all, but he's one of like the biggest magic YouTubers, and I hate to call him a magic YouTuber. I mean, he's a good magician, but I think he's been much more successful as a YouTuber than as a professional magician, like a working magician. But he is a phenomenal, like immaculately edited. He's a phenomenal video editor and filmmaker. He's best friends with Peter McKinnon. So Adam, that's his kind of connection. So he's actually the one that helped Peter get in to the game, and then Peter just shot past everybody in the world. So Chris Ramsey, when he started making those puzzle videos 2 years ago, maybe, they were getting the smallest views on his channel because his channel had 1 million subscribers and they were magicians. but then one puzzle video popped and hit the YouTube algorithm, and then a bunch of people who were curious about that flooded. And it was actually because he hit this really specific niche of puzzles that the people who were so into that niche were probably sharing it with their friends, right? And going, dude, I know you're not normally into this, but you gotta see this. Like when Adam will occasionally go, you're not into puppets, but you gotta see this. And he'll send me something, right? And then the puzzles at large are such a wider demographic than magic, because anybody can relate to a puzzle. A lot fewer people can relate to magic. But I think it's because he was super interested in a very small area, and he kept making those videos even though they got low views compared to the rest of his channel, that it ended up popping.
And one more thing I'd add too, the fact that it was a magic channel makes even that puzzle video more interesting, because it's not just a puzzle person doing something about puzzles. It's like a magician's perspective on puzzles, you know? It's kind of like, it almost reminds me of, you know, another channel that absolutely blew up in the past year, which is the Corridor Crew. And they are the ones.
They're so good.
They're so good, but they're the ones that started that whole theme of experts react, you know? And you know, even big mainstream companies started doing videos on that, like, oh, like Chef Ramsay react. I mean, it's what they're all doing now.
Or professional
they
magician
started
reacts.
that, you know, and it's not because they were famous, you know, it's not because of any of that. It's because they were specialists, they knew what they were talking about, and they applied what they know to other people's art, which was other videos. And that's what this guy's doing with magic and puzzles.
The entire, it's a tried and true format, because the entire TED format is built on this idea of, we're going to take a world-renowned or world-class expert in one specific thing, and they're going to share general insights that can be abstracted from what they do to the wider audience. That is what TED is and always has been, right? Before they were ever filmed, it was just 2,000, invitation only, super smart people from different fields in a room, and each one would get up and talk about the application of the principles they learned in their field to the wider audience sitting in the room. So like it's a really good model. I think the blowing up on YouTube is still mostly luck. I think you can know everything about thumbnails and everything about hashtags and all that stuff, and you just have to wait for the video that just is the right combination of things in the right moment in the zeitgeist, right? Like when people ask me, when they come to me for TEDx coaching, and they go, how do I make my TEDx talk go viral like yours? I go, I have no idea, because I didn't make my TEDx talk go viral, right? I didn't make mine go viral. It just did. But when it wasn't like I said something there that I haven't said in other places. It wasn't the first time I'd ever talked about that stuff. It was just the one that went, and the TED brand gave it the push, right?
I think an important thing to point out there's different types of viral videos too, because I would say a video like that going viral is very different than I think what people traditionally think of, because a lot of, if you think about it, most like heavily edited things aren't things that go viral necessarily, as long as the core the virality thing is there. But a lot of things that go viral are things that were, just either live or one take straight through. It's like it's catching a special moment, really, and a lot of times what makes those special is that it was such a chance to get it.
Yeah, no, that's true. So I think, Nevin, I think you should absolutely be doing more of that, make that into a series and pick different people. And you can do it virtually too. You can do it. You could sit on a Zoom or whatever, or a StreamYard with somebody, and you could show the video, you could record it all through here. You don't need, in the middle of pandemic world, to put yourself at risk by getting more and more random people to come over and hang out. Right. But like,
the thing too is like, with the pandemic and everything, like I do want to do these more, and I have no problem seeing my friends. But I've noticed that I have a problem with going to gigs. I've had actually like 3 or 4 gig inquiries that I've turned down for live events.
So have I. I have turned down the first wave of the pandemic. For me was brutal, but you could accept it because everything got canceled because it had to get canceled. So the first everything got wiped off my calendar, and it was awful, but it was like, well, what are you going to do? But now the second wave of of the pandemic related to artists is much worse, because what's happening is now artists who've been out of work for months are being forced to make decisions like, do I accept the gigs from people who clearly aren't taking this seriously? So they're holding in-person events that are not safe, but I haven't worked in 3 months. I mean, I'm not speaking for myself. I've worked fine, but there's a lot of artists, actors, comedians, singer-songwriters who have not worked in 3-4 months. And they probably didn't have savings to get through the first week of this, right? So they have to now go, do I take it or not? And I've done what you've done, Nevin, because I've been lucky enough to sit on some savings and to be working virtually that I don't need to put myself at risk. But it's still brutal. I have turned down. I've said no. People are finally willing to pay again after months of there being no work. And I'm going, nope, can't do it. I'm not doing it. It's, oh, man. With Broadway now announcing their shutdown for the rest of 2020, man, what in the world are actors going to do? Adam, what are actors going to do? Is there enough virtual work?
I can tell you what they're going to do. They're going to create something, and then whether or not it's successful, they're going to abandon it the second things open up, which is sad, you know? And the most obvious blatant example of that was, what's the guy's name who created SGN? What's his name? What's his name? He's
I don't know.
What's his?
I do.
Yeah, from The Office. The guy.
Thank you, Ari.
I know.
Oh, Jim. He played Jim.
Jim Halpert. Right.
John Krasinski.
John Krasinski created a beautiful thing. The beautiful thing that resonated with everybody. And after like 5 episodes, he sold the brand, and everyone was so mad about it. And here's the thing: I do not bash him for selling it. He couldn't do it forever. I get it. But 4 weeks? Like, come on. Like, wait till we're through this thing or whatever. And I understand him, maybe he couldn't do it himself that whole time. That's fine. You know, he can still be the manager and doing it, but pass it off to another friend, and then another friend, and don't let it get corporate until we're at least out of this mess. It was the biggest mistake that he made, because he had such trajectory with this thing. And I almost feel bad for whatever company bought it, because they're like, oh, everyone's loving it. This is great. And the fact that they bought it made everyone hate it.
Yeah.
Once you jump ship, you know, the face of the company was no longer the face of the company.
Well, and the whole idea, I mean, the idea that anybody thought it was going to be successful ever after a corporate entity picked it up. I mean, it was just a guy that we all knew and love from a popular show, and he just had a bunch of stuff he had hand drawn in the background, and he was clearly using like an iPhone or something, and he was just doing a nice thing. And that just somebody jumped in. There's a delay, so I'm gonna give MP YouTube. I'm gonna say I bet you got to it before us, but there's like a 1-minute round trip when you use StreamYard to YouTube. It's actually a brutally long latency. It's way too long, actually.
No, but you're absolutely right. And the thing is, too, what was great about him is that it was sincere. The reason why his thing was very homemade looking is because he doesn't do this. However, I don't have the same feeling when Colbert's doing it at home. Okay, right. Jimmy Fallon's doing it at home. Like that was not endearing and did not necessarily. Maybe it resonated with a few people, but there was a big difference, a humongous difference. And now by selling it, it made it the same as all that. Because again, whoever bought it, I'm just going to make it up. Let's say NBC bought it. Okay, NBC. It's not cute to watch someone different from NBC sitting in their living room with their kids drawn thing. It doesn't make sense.
Every time Jimmy Fallon, right at the beginning of this, I thought Jimmy was. I hate to bash. I was never a huge Jimmy Fallon fan, but I didn't hate him by any stretch. This was not the right medium for him. That's how I'm going to phrase that. The Jimmy Fallon switching to the streaming medium. Some of the late night hosts transitioned fairly seamlessly. Conan is a stand-up. He's an entertainer. He's quick-witted. He thinks on his feet. Conan transitioned perfectly right away. It just felt like Conan from his house, basically. But Jimmy Fallon is a performer in a very specific medium. He's a performer when there's a multi-camera shoot and there's cue cards and there's people to play off of, and that's his niche, and he's phenomenal at it. But as soon as he had to kind of do the whole thing by himself from his house. It just fell apart. And I wished at the beginning of all this, people just needed to recognize what they're good at and what they're not good at. And it's okay not to be good at this. You've never done it before. Even though you're famous, if you've never done it before, this is a really tough thing to do. Even what we're doing right now, maintaining a live stream with a chat, even with only a handful of people watching, this is really hard to do if you've ever tried to.
That's what was so frustrating about seeing so many of those things, is because this is being posted on a humongous corporation channel with billions of dollars, and anything that me and you have produced in the last 5 years looks better than it.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And not only that, I'd see some of these videos. I'm like, why didn't they crop that? And then people will say, oh, they just did it from their phone. But then you look, there's post editing, there's graphics thrown in over it. I'm like, no, it was. They're
like
saying,
they can't.
oh, let's be relatable by just using this raw footage. No, just crop it a little.
That's what it was.
Anyway.
It was a conflation. It was still a complete misunderstanding from the mainstream media of what makes YouTube YouTube. People thought that what makes the mainstream media still to this day thinks YouTube is, I put stuff up that's crappy and that's why people like it. That's what they think YouTube is. Adam, you're muted. Yeah. And that's and that was obvious in the first couple of weeks where they thought, oh, we'll just throw up anything and people will like it because it's raw. It's like, no, this stuff is highly produced. It's just not produced to look like your productions.
Yeah. Well, again, it was so when something is truly raw like that, there is, people give it a pass. But when you have that raw, rough footage, and then nice graphics going over it, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, also, it's interesting because, Jimmy Fallon, when you saw him at home with his family. And his family, like, you don't see them on the show at all. They're not part of the show. And then they try to involve the kids, but the kids aren't old enough to understand what's actually going on. So then he's doing this dance between trying to hold the camera and trying to keep his daughters, quiet so he can do the show. But John Krasinski didn't have that same problem because he's just in his desk area, but he involves his kids some other way. Like, there wasn't a good balance in the Jimmy Fallon show because, he's trying to do a show. John Krasinski is a family guy. He stays at home all the time. He lives with his family unless he's doing a show. So when he's there filming, it's like, oh, guys, just
I'll tell you exactly what the difference is. The difference is between vulnerability and manufactured vulnerability. People can see right through manufactured vulnerability because it's not a vulnerability,
It's forced. It's not real. Yeah. And they try to make him more relatable by being like, oh, Jimmy Fallon's this guy who's living at home now and he's still doing it from home. It's like, it's not relatable because they still live in this, big house and they still live in like this very, it's just weird, it doesn't seem genuine. It doesn't come off as genuine.
Yeah, I don't watch many of those guys, but I think the best one that I've really seen pull it off is Trevor Noah does a really good job too. It makes it pretty similar to what he's always done, which I think would have been the smartest thing for all those people, is make it as close to what they were already doing, because that's what people went expecting, rather than trying to be like what John Krasinski did. Even if they did it before him, it was just, again, it wasn't sincere.
Thanks for being here, Tom. We really appreciate you checking in. Got to go. That's because I plan on being on here for 5 minutes, and it's been almost an hour. If it was just me, it would have been 5 minutes. Keep the great content going. One of the good guys. I appreciate that. Puppet Man, we're interested. Tom is interested in you, Puppet Man. And you should definitely check out Adam's channel. By the way, Tom, if you ever hear this, check out his most recent video on the Baby Yoda puppet. It's wild. It's a lot of fun. And
I don't think I mentioned that I was a puppet person in this stream yet. How did they know?
No,
it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, it's so hard with all the puppets in the background. I would never have guessed I'd do that.
Puppet Man. You need a shirt that says Puppet Man. like Superman. Yeah.
Puppet.
Yeah.
Man.
Puppet Man.
I can't wait for my merch. I can't wait for my merch to show up finally. Adam finally convinced me that I needed to get, for the audio channel, that I needed to get some merch that I just wear. Whether people
to come in.
What was it?
I'm excited for your merch to come in.
Yeah, so I got a mug and a shirt. I got two of each, but they're identical. So I got a mug that's white with the Audio for Content Creators logo in purple. And then I got a shirt that's purple with the Audio for Content Creators in white.
Yeah.
To wear the shirt.
That's a good contrast.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I think it might show up this week and it might not be till next week. All the shipping times are so long right now for custom stuff anyway.
I'm so mad about that. I ordered this guide to puppetry for my camp that's coming out. And I just had one printed locally. It was expensive to print locally, so I didn't want to do the whole batch locally. But I wanted one just so I could shoot my promo stuff, okay? And then I ordered it online. I paid extra to have it come a little printed faster, expedited, and then shipping a little faster. And then I got an email this morning saying like, "Oh, the margins aren't right. Can you fix it?" I'm like, "Okay, quick." And within an hour, I had a new file to them. And like, "Okay, great. Now your thing's been rescheduled for 3 days later." I'm like, "Because 1 hour? It's been 1 hour. Why am I pushed back 3 days?" I was so mad. I called them too. And they're like,
you know it's real when you call.
You can pay to make it go faster. I'm like, ah.
You already did that. You already paid to make it go faster. Yeah. What? That's insane. That's ridiculous.
But
I need to start figuring out names for my movie podcast. I don't know what to call it. I don't know even how you start naming a podcast. Brian, maybe you have some info.
But I do, because you are going to be going through the podcast accelerator course, right?
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
You'll be starting that today or tomorrow, and so the very first module in there. Well, the first one is choose your topic. You did that already. You should watch it anyway. Well, you have to. The course drops one video per day for 7 days in a row, so you don't get access to the whole thing at once. Because I wanted people to actually go through.
Well, you need time to pick a topic too. Just because you know you want to do a podcast, like I knew I wanted to do a podcast. Initially, I was just going to do stories from my life. It was this movie that I watched, The Vast of Night, which I highly recommend everybody go watch. It's on Amazon Prime. It's free to watch. It's incredible. I think it's a debut film. No famous actors, and it takes place in the 1950s. Incredible movie. I loved it.
Oh.
Anyways, in the movie, this girl.
Questions. I'm sorry. Are you going to do a video aspect to it as well?
I was considering it because
you should definitely
right now
do it.
I was thinking.
Definitely do
it. You think so?
Oh, 100%.
Adam's got a soapbox about this, but watch out.
Yeah, I do. You have to do it. SEO, it's the only way people are going to actually find it. And secondly, since you're doing video anyway, you should dress up as one of the characters and then do the review or thing as the thing. Because I'd love to see you dressed up as a love guru doing a review on the love guru.
I knew that was coming up. I knew that was coming up, but
you set me up for it.
I couldn't help myself. Every time I see you comment on anything, I would just want to call you the puppet guru. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
That's
so
the t-shirt. Get the t-shirt. The puppet guru.
I gotta jump off in a minute here, guys. But Nevin, thank you for jumping on early. This was good. Adam, thanks for bailing us out and giving us a chance to flesh out some of this stuff. I feel like tell me if I'm wrong, but I really enjoy the 3-person dynamic on lives. I find when it's just me and someone else, when it's just like, it feels more like an interview. And 4, all of a sudden, I feel like I spend a lot of time thinking about, has everybody had a chance to talk recently? But 3 feels really easy to do.
No, that's why my podcast, Puppeteers Podcast, is I have a co-host, and we have every episode is at least 3 people because it's 2 hosts and 1 guest, and I love the dynamic because not only that, the reason why I think it's most important is just to get a second perspective because a person says one thing and we could each have a different reaction to it, which also helps, because a lot of people, we try to project what the audience is thinking as well. So we get 2 perspectives of that. So I think but you're right. Too many cooks, though. You don't want too many cooks.
Too funny. So let me make sure that I shout out a couple of things. So Adam, is it, let's see, puppeteers.com. Will that get me there?
Yep.
Is that it? Yep. All right. Puppeteers.com. Nevin, what do you want as a shout out? What's your YouTube? Do you even have a custom URL? I got nothing to do for you. What's your Instagram?
At NVN_magic. There you go.
Underscore. Oh,
And his website is www.lovegurufan.com.
Oh no, that's not right.
God.
Hang on. I misspelled. I had
I went for the underscore because I didn't like NVN and Magic put together because N and M, they just don't look right next to each other. So I just like that underscore to separate them. That's why I went for the underscore.
Somebody just messaged me because at 2:00 the video premiered on Facebook. Originally, I was gonna get off of this, go onto that one, and whatever, because I thought this would only take me 10 minutes. So I kind of missed that one. But the Facebook one premiered. I got a Facebook message from somebody who saw me give a speech at their campus, who just messaged me and said, "Escher's Enigma, what a time to be alive, my new favorite." So,
oh, awesome!
That's awesome.
Somebody watched it over there. Anyway. Cool to see you both. I got to bounce, and yeah, we should. This was good. We should do this again sometime.
Sounds good.
Absolutely.
So, Nevin, you start going through that course, and all right.
You guys.
I was gonna. I didn't even know how to end. I'm like, I have too many goddamn different endings. I was gonna be like, on to the next. No, that's not it. I don't know. What do I say, Adam? What do I say to end this? And take me out. Say bye.
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 Hi, Mom.
I'm